The studio lights were soft, almost golden, reflecting in his eyes as Ken took a slow breath. The interviewer had just asked him a question that no one had ever dared to say out loud. "Do you still believe in destiny, Ken?" He smiled faintly, but there was something heavy in that smile, something that came from years of silence and unspoken memories. "Destiny?" he whispered, his voice lower than before. "I used to think destiny was just a word people used when they didn't want to take responsibility for their choices. But then I met her." The audience leaned in. Cameras caught the slight tremor in his hands. For a man known for his confidence, that moment betrayed everything he tried to hide. "She changed the way I saw life," he continued. "She taught me that love isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. But sometimes, persistence isn't enough when the whole world tells you to let go." He didn't have to say her name. Everyone knew who he meant. Demet. The woman who had once been his co-star, his friend, his secret, and perhaps his only true love. They met on a set filled with cameras and lights, but what started as acting became something dangerously real. Every glance, every touch that was supposed to be scripted, suddenly wasn't. And when filming ended, something inside both of them refused to end with it. But behind that love, there were shadows. Family expectations. Cultural traditions. The unspoken rule that some connections, no matter how deep, were not meant to last. Ken's mother had once told him, "Love is beautiful, but not if it costs your peace." He didn't understand those words, until he had to choose between his heart and his family's blessing. Demet, on the other hand, was fighting her own battles. Her family adored Ken, but feared what his fame might do to her. "He belongs to the world," her sister had said once. "And you'll always be waiting." They were torn between two forces, one written by fate, the other dictated by family. And as Ken's words echoed in that silent studio, the truth became clear: destiny had brought them together, but the world had done everything to tear them apart. Demet stood by the window that night, the city lights flickering like memories she wished she could forget. Her phone was on the table, screen dark, silent. Yet every second, her eyes returned to it, as if willing it to light up with his name. Ken hadn't called. Not for days. Not since the dinner where everything fell apart. His family had been there, elegant, composed, and cold. The conversation had started with polite smiles but ended with invisible knives. They didn't say she wasn't good enough. They didn't have to. Every pause, every measured glance said it for them. Demet, Ken's mother had said, her voice smooth but distant, "Our son's life is not an ordinary one. There are responsibilities, expectations. You understand, don't you?" Demet had smiled. She always did. But when she looked at Ken, his eyes had said nothing. That silence cut deeper than any word. Now, alone in her apartment, she whispered to herself, "Maybe love isn't enough when the world keeps testing it." Her sister's voice echoed in her mind, "You can't fight destiny, Demet." But what if destiny wasn't kind? What if it wanted them to suffer before giving them peace? Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, Ken sat in his car, engine off, hands gripping the steering wheel. He had driven past her street 3 times already. He could see the light in her window, that faint, familiar glow that once felt like home. He wanted to go up. To knock. To tell her that he didn't care what anyone said, that he'd fight for her. But then he remembered his father's words, firm and final, "If you choose her, you choose against us." The night was quiet, but inside both of them, storms raged. Demet finally picked up her phone, typed a message, "If you love me, don't let them win." She stared at it for a long time, her thumb hovering over send. Then, with trembling hands, she deleted it. Because she knew something he didn't, that fate wasn't done with them yet. And sometimes, to let destiny work, you had to first let go. The morning came without warning, gray, heavy, and unforgiving. Ken woke up on the couch, the echoes of his father's last words still burning in his mind. He had always been the strong one, the fighter, the man who built his life from discipline and fire. But this was different. This was a war he couldn't win by strength alone. When he entered the family home that day, silence filled the air like a weapon. His mother sat by the window, tea untouched. His father stood near the doorway, waiting. "Sit down," his father said. Ken didn't. "No, I'll stand. I think I've done enough sitting and listening." His father's eyes narrowed. "This is not rebellion, Ken. This is about what's right." "What's right?" Ken laughed bitterly. "You mean what's convenient for everyone else but me? You raised me to fight for what I believe in, until the day I believed in someone you didn't approve of." His mother finally spoke, her tone softer but still full of fear. "She's not the problem. The life that follows her is. The attention, the chaos, the spotlight. It will destroy you both." But Ken shook his head. "You think love destroys. I think it saves." Outside, thunder rolled. Inside, a different storm began. His father's words cut through the air like thunderbolts. "If you walk out that door, don't expect it to be open again." For a moment, time froze. Ken looked down at his mother, at the house he grew up in, a place that had always felt like safety, now suffocating him. He took one breath, then another, and walked out. Meanwhile, Demet was at a photo shoot, smiling for the cameras, pretending everything was fine. The flashes blinded her, but not enough to hide the tears threatening to fall. Her manager whispered between takes, "He's everywhere in the news. They say his family." "I don't want to hear it," she interrupted gently, her voice breaking just slightly. When the cameras stopped rolling, she sat alone in her dressing room. On the table was a single white envelope, no name, no return address. Just her name, handwritten in the corner. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside, a note, "I chose you. Whatever comes next, I'm ready." Her heart stopped for a second. The ink was still fresh. For the first time in weeks, she smiled. Because destiny, it seemed, had just chosen a side. The city was louder than ever that night, paparazzi flashes, screaming fans, and the hum of headlines being written in real time. But under all that noise, there was something quieter, more powerful, two hearts finally finding their way back. Demet was leaving the studio when the chaos began. Cameras followed her every step. Questions were thrown like daggers. "Demet, did you see Ken's interview? Is it true he left his family for you? Are you two back together?" She didn't answer. She couldn't. The noise was unbearable, until one voice broke through the crowd. "Demet." She turned. There he was. Standing just beyond the flashing lights, wearing that same calm defiance he always had when he made up his mind. Ken. The world seemed to blur around them. For a moment, she forgot the cameras, the chaos, the fear. She just saw him. He walked closer, ignoring the shouts and microphones. His hand found hers. Firm, steady, trembling just enough to betray how much it meant. "Come with me," he whispered. They slipped into his car before anyone could react. The door shut, the noise vanished. For the first time in months, silence felt like peace. Neither spoke for a while. The city lights passed over their faces, painting their reflections on the glass, two people caught between the past and the future. Finally, Kim broke the silence. "I told them I chose you. I don't know what comes next, but I couldn't pretend anymore." Demet turned to him, her eyes glistening. "You shouldn't have done that for me." He smiled softly. "I didn't do it for you. I did it because I can't live a life that's a lie." Tears slid down her cheek. "What if they never forgive you?" "Then maybe forgiveness isn't what I need," he said quietly. "Maybe I just need you." She looked at him, searching his face for doubt, but found none. Only truth. Outside, a storm began to fall, rain tracing the windows like fate signing its name. Demet reached out, placing her hand over his heart. "It's still beating the same," she said with a fragile smile. It always will, he whispered back. And there, in the middle of a city that had turned their love into headlines, they found something that didn't need cameras to exist, something real, fragile, and unstoppable. The next morning, the world woke up to chaos. Photos of Can and Demet together filled every screen, car lights reflecting on their faces, her hand in his gaze locked on hers. Headlines screamed the forbidden love returns, and Yaman turns his back on family for Demet Özdemir. Every network wanted a statement. Every fan wanted the truth. And every person close to them had an opinion. Can's phone didn't stop ringing. His manager, his father, even his publicist, all demanding explanations. Do you realize what you've done? His manager shouted over the line. You just started a war with your own family and the press. Can's voice was calm, almost too calm. Then let it be war. At least it's honest. Demet faced her own storm. Her friends begged her to hide, to deny, to say it was just coincidence. But she didn't. She stood in front of the cameras that afternoon, her heart racing, and said simply, I'm not here to justify love. I'm here to live it. That single line spread across the world like fire. Millions shared it, millions debated it, but for the first time, they weren't hiding anymore. Still, fate wasn't done with them. Because love that defies the world always comes at a price. A week later, Demet got a call, not from the press, but from Can's mother. Demet, she said softly, he hasn't been home since that day. He won't answer our calls. He's shutting everyone out. Demet's heart dropped. Where is he? He's where you first met, his mother whispered. Maybe you can bring him back. That night, Demet drove through the rain, headlights slicing through the darkness until she reached the old film studio, the same set where it had all begun years ago. The lights were off, the air heavy with silence. But then she saw him, sitting on the same bench they'd shared between scenes, drenched, lost in thought. She walked up slowly, her steps echoing in the empty space. You always disappear when you need someone the most, she said softly. He looked up, his eyes tired but alive. I didn't disappear. I just needed to remember why it was worth it. She knelt beside him, cupping his face. It's worth it because it's us. Not because it's easy. Not because it's perfect. But because it's real. A tear fell from his eye, and he whispered, then tell me it's not too late. Demet smiled through her tears. It never was. Fate just wanted to see if we'd fight for it. He leaned in, their foreheads touching, rain dripping from their hair like melted time. And for a moment, nothing else mattered, not the headlines, not the family, not the past. Just them. Two souls who had lost everything except the one thing that truly mattered. Love. And as the storm finally began to fade, dawn breaking through the clouds, it felt as if destiny itself had exhaled, relieved that, after everything, it hadn't failed them. Because sometimes, love doesn't conquer all at once. It conquers a little more each time you choose it again. And that morning, as Can whispered, we made it, and Demet smiled through the light, it was clear they finally had. The end.